guys want that process to look, but when you have, I mean, like Chad and Donovan, you guys aren't gonna have very different opinions, right? I mean, there's a chance, but as long as you guys are on the same page, you just type that up, you know, everybody says, okay, we're good with this, you have to put it in there, and that's the approval.
So that approval process done, Donovan slides it, he signs it,
Mm-hmm,
he signs it, he signs it,
mm-hmm,
John signs it.
mm-hmm.
Should it go back to the initial person to approve it, or should it just be a communication between?
The last person to approve it should just hit the publish button. That's right. Well, yeah. And keep in mind what that does. So what that publish button, we'll work through that. I mean, we'll go out here on the screen and actually show what that approval process looks like here in a few minutes. When you publish the decision, that puts it into WFDS to where anybody that has viewer access in WFDS can then read that decision and access your decision. So that's where the powers that be can get in there and get into your decision, look at your cost, look at your organizational justification of, you know, why you need a CIMT and all those other factors. Back in here, everything is checked. So now
That you are also in approval, so there's 5 technically on there. Does it need to go through all 5 or publish?
the only thing it needs to go through is all of the listed approvers. So if you are one of the listed approvers, you're going to follow along with exactly what I'm doing from this point forward. Okay. You're going to come down here to the ready for approval button. You're going to spin up this dial. This is important because this is now creating the draft PDF. And I'm going to show you why that's important here in just a second once it's done generating. As that's doing that, we can look at, this is kind of a cool thing too. There is a new feature in here. Number of days between required assessments. Every approver is going to have to decide what they think is right? There is not, I mean, and most of our fires is going to be a day, right? Some of our fires is going to be every 2 days. Some of our fires, you know, if they're longer term fires, they may be every 3, every 4 days, you know, by day 10, day 12, day 15 of the fire. There is no set length. All that's required is that in your judgment as a bureau rep or as an agency administrator, you select anything between 1 and 14 days, or now we have a strategy has been met and assessments are no longer needed option as well. So this would be for some of those long-term fires, you know, that have been on the landscape for months and months and months, which really aren't, you know, they don't happen in Nevada for the most part. Before those types of fires, this is really good for those because as an agency administrator, you can just check that and that basically kind of checks you out of the witness process and you've met all of your requirements.
Does all of the approvers need to do that? Or just the one
Every approver will have to select, yes,
that no longer needed?
yes, yes. So yeah, everything that we're talking about, every approver would have to do that. This is the other thing, you do have to put notes in there. The notes are not published. So this is internal to WFDS itself. If you wanted to put in there some kind of multiple approvers, you know, last approver, publish the decision, just some kind of reminder note. I think they put it there. Yeah, exactly. I have reviewed tactics. They are consistent with my instant strategy. Ensure that all elements have been checked before hitting save. Once you hit save, that'll spin again. And then from here, we see all of the approvers. Everybody is still pending. I am going to hit the approved decision because what that does is that brings up this window. And then if I sign the decision, I'm approving it. But if I want to preview that decision, I click on the preview button. Now let's save. Goes through this process, puts it into a folder. Good thing yet, right? Right now, we have a draft decision that includes all of our leaders' intent, includes everything that we just spent all that time working on. If you have WFDSS cooperators that are not in WFDSS, that will never be in WFDSS, you can email this to them, say, please reply back by this time stating that you've reviewed this decision, and we'll use this as your approval in WFDSS. So this is a real easy way that you can work in, cooperators, that need to be part of that process, whatever you feel is appropriate. I know that, different units have different appropriateness of how they would include, like local cooperator or whatever. If you feel that they should be included, you can email this to them, say this is our draft decision. If you have any concerns, email me back those concerns by noon, today, and leave it at that, and ask them to reply back with, I've reviewed the decision and I approve, I concur, or whatever that language needs to say for you to feel comfortable that your bases were covered. So I'm going to go back because again, I did that without approving the decision. So I'm going to approve the decision again. So now I'm going to sign the decision. And then I am going to, so if you guys who are on this list, if you guys want to go ahead and do your approvals now.
We have to refresh that to see your.
I think so, yeah. You probably have to tab over. I would imagine maybe if you tab over to decision rationale and then tab back over to that decision approval and assessment. Yeah, see Brad approved it. Tab, are you good?
Control their circuit.
Other than the button. Okay.
He has approved it. Whether it's me, I mean, anybody can do this, right? It could have been John if he was the last one in, or you want to do it. But now, any approver, we can go back in, say publish, and that is now published the decision, and now it's available in WFDSS. So that is how we incorporate multiple approvers into our decision. So you can see it takes a little bit of coordination, right? I mean, it's going to take some level of collaboration. You're not just going to be able to, say, hey, it's ready for you, log in and do. I mean, there's going to have to be some Teams meeting, or I don't know what that looks like, to be honest. And if you brought me into the SOPL, I would certainly figure out a process that works for you and, make that work for you. But I think until we kind of get that figured out, it's going to be imperative that the unit fire chiefs and the bureau reps just kind of talk that out every fire and make sure everybody's comfortable with what they're doing and how they're doing it.
So that happened with the last iteration of our series of poodle fires when that one was on NorCal, so it was their planner. With our planner. They did most of the work. This is accommodate what you guys are looking for, your values. Planning area big enough,
Right.
you know how those fires operate in there. Yeah. They set up a call for us to sit down. They sent us stuff over. We looked at it, had our own group together, made sure we were on the same page for planning.
Yeah.
And we can only have one signature at that time. So if that would have been this year, then it would have been that process we just did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Simplest. See, should be the agency administrator, and then the bureau rep, right?
In this case, it would be you and Chad. The IC isn't an approver. The IC.
Chad, okay.
Chad's the unit fire, it's the Wildland Fire Service, Chad's the unit fire chief, and the bureau representative from legal approvers.
And from there, it just goes, on local jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So you cross over into a different unit?
Yeah.
Now, it's the planning area or the fire?
That is the planning area. Yes, very good point. Yeah, so, that is the planning area. So our policy used to state that, whenever you had a planning area in your jurisdiction, you had to be involved as a WFDSS approver, or you had to be involved in the WFDSS decision. I think was how the language read in the policy. So yeah, that same thing is gonna be the case this year, but like in this case, right? I mean, where in the past, maybe we would have gotten by with Donovan's comfortable with Chad being the approver or vice versa. I think, you know, we need to be a little bit, I don't know. I mean, that's within your guys' delegation
I
authority.
think what we find
That'll be
sometimes,
comfort zone.
and not so much, I think so much our state, but we found adjacent areas, they'll want to prematurely cut off a planning area to keep from drawing that complexity into the WFDS, because it's a headache, whatever the excuse is, there's 100 of them out there. And sometimes maybe that makes sense, as long as they maybe set a trigger point, if it gets here, we're gonna need to expand this planning area, because we need time to plan for this, but if they're just doing it artificially and the fire's already on the boundary, it makes no sense to do that. I mean, those are chief to chief, right? Administrator conversations that need to happen to make sure it's done right. Otherwise, everyone's behind the target when it goes over them.
Like, and this is under the old system, so I probably shouldn't bring it up either, but like I would argue the point that, even if a fire crosses the field office boundary by policy, right, that other field office manager,
We have to,
should be, right,
especially for Cone Pond Mount Lewis,
Yep.
different RMPs.
exactly. So that's still gonna have to be a consideration every fire, you know, whether we're crossing field office boundaries or whether we're crossing unit boundaries. I mean, we're gonna have to have that consideration of thought and just figure out who those approvers are. Because, yeah, you could have multiple bureau reps. I mean, if you have 4 field offices, you're gonna have a bureau rep for every field office involved. And say you have a BIA jurisdiction, say you have Park Service jurisdiction, you know, there's bureau reps for each of those folks too. I mean, it's one unit fire chief, but they all come with, every color land comes with their own bureau rep.
So it used to be fire, on the BLM, fire was a district function of the district, and that's why it was typically the district manager that would sign off on that.
Yep.
So with that not being the case, so field office manager is that level that we're looking for bureau reps, or can it still be a DDM or a DM?
I think it's whoever the DM of that district wants to be on your rep. And then eventually has to train me. That's how I interpret it.
If you look at the 1203, the Nevada supplements to 1203, our previous state director delegated all of those authorities down to the field manager, right? In the 1203 manual, he stated that those authorities go direct to state director, to district manager, and we're delegating to the field office managers. So that's gonna have to be a bureau decision.
That's old or new?
That was under the old.
Under the old, when they needed an ADM call to be able to do that. And now that's not a thing anymore, so it truly can be a field manager, no matter what.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of changes that are gonna have to happen. The bureau is gonna be responsible, like I said, I mean, I guess right now, the BLM is looking at what is that training requirement look like for any ADM, so. Starting off with which one.
Dylan, on the assessment, basically you would go in here again and just click the same thing.
Yep.
Does it take a while to be able to do it, or?
So, yeah, if you go into, this is what we just published. And then if we are going to publish another assessment, it's basically right here, right? Everything's ready for approval. I've typed something into the decision rationale. I would have typed it, you know, crews were successful, fire is now 15% contained, everything else is still valid. I would have typed that into the decision rationale, but that's all you gotta do. Just add your text in the decision rationale. I would make a little section in there, you know, just call it periodic assessments or something like that. And then every approver has a little section that they can go in there and put whatever they want in there. If BLM wants to put something in there, they can. If Forest Service wants to put something in there, they can. Well, this is kind of the section where each of those agencies has their autonomy to type in whatever they need to type in.
It's in the rationale.
Yeah. Just update the rationale and then it republishes everything. Then you just go through that exact same process again that we just went through. Questions? I know that was really quick and dirty, but I knew also that you guys just went through your court's decision. And I think that, do you guys want to pull that court's decision up? And Brad, when we're looking at some of the approvals
No, I figured out.
Are we good?
I figured out the bug, Dylan.
Okay, and what was it? Just for,
So after I approved it, I hit publish, and then I went and grabbed, well, let me take that back. I went and grabbed Kyle and said, hey, do I publish this, or does the agency administrator publish it? And so I went ahead and I published it, then went back into it to see if it took effect, and the ready to approve button was lit back up blue, so I clicked that ready to approve button again, and that took Derek out of the equation and made it to where he didn't sign it.
Mhm.
So pretty much did a reassessment.
Yeah.
So that's always one of those things, one of those fail safes, like
Yeah.
gray it out for the day or something like that, have it
Yeah,
done.
I know. I wish I could grab it.
Yeah,
Every button that doesn't work, like when it's like, if you go into the analysis tab, there's a button that says request analysis.
yeah,
You can click on that and nothing happens, you know? Why even put that button in there? Or why not add some text that do not,
does
you
not
know,
work.
this does not work, don't use it. These are all things we've passed up. I know.
So that's what we were talking about earlier was eliminate that option because it was just done.
Right.
And then you have somebody that's like, well, I guess I need to do it again.
I'm gonna go back into the course decision now, because, Derek updated the cost and just take a look at it as, you know, do I need to approve it again?
Mm-hmm. I got yesterday's published decision, everything's available.
One thing I was gonna bring up, Dylan, was the PDF version,
Mhm.
how I said there was the objective was missing. I don't know if it's like the way the PDF spits out the decision, but like your strategic course of action is up here with your strategic summary. And the strategic course of action is there, but what it doesn't have in the order is all of a sudden you scroll down and then it's got your strategic assessment. Your strategic assessment is before the strategic course of action. So it's like it was put out of order when it gets.
Oh, right.
That's what because when you were in the course of action, I was like, I know we put objectives in there,
Right,
but in that PDF, it's just not.
right. So that's highlighting decision. Back in there, those objectives. Yep. Yep. That's exactly, whatever you wanted to see. If you check it off as highlight in decision, it'll push it up into that section.
Fire was contained at 9:30.
So we breezed through everything really fast. Again, you know, the PDF that you get out of the decision, this is the draft. It's not gonna have everything that the decision has in it, so, you know, in a lot of cases, this is what, as an IC3, you know, you may get this from an FMO, you may get this email from a duty officer. Again, you know, normally, most of what you need is in this PDF document, but if you want to have access to that full decision, you need to log into WFDS and actually go into the decision in WFDS to view everything and see everything. This is kind of the filtered version of what's in the decision, so. Meets most of our needs, but again, if you're an IC3, and you want a little bit more access to the decision, you're gonna want to log in and see it. So. That's the case. I'm gonna go ahead and break. We'll still keep with the schedule. We're done with the WFDS portion itself, so I think I got the sign-in sheet here. Hopefully you guys can all come back this afternoon at 1 o'clock. If you can't, we're gonna cover spatial fire planning service and then cover the end briefing story map and talk a little bit more about ISAP. But yeah, this was the guts of the WFDS training. And again, we were able to take a decision basically from start to fire, go through each of those sections. You know, we covered the strategic course of action really quickly. I would spend a lot more time in that strategic course of action. I mean, that's really where you want to bulletproof and make your decision real good. You know, whatever maps you can add, whatever supporting documentation you can add. Fuel conditions, you know, if we're under an extreme fire behavior advisory, all that type of information is what can be included in the WFDSS decision and make it a better decision. The other things, you know, like I said, leaders' intent letters and delegations of authority. The delegation of authority is more or less, you know, a pretty standard document, really not a lot, but on the leader's intent letter, I've seen districts include that in the decision rationale. And I thought that was a good stroke because, you know, what that did is that saved them a lot of work. They didn't have to retype everything that they had in the leader's intent letter in the decision rationale. They just said, here's a decision rationale, see attached leader's intent as well. Real simple thing. With this is a blank canvas, you know, I mean, we have requirements and we have to do it, but again, as far as the minimum requirements for what's included in the WFDSS decision, it's just those 5 or 6 items I showed you in the red book there. So you can put as much creativity as you want, you can put as much simplicity as you want into your WFDSS decision based off the context. You know, what determines how much work you put into WFDSS? If you have a team coming in, obviously you put a lot more work into WFDSS. If you have out of area firefighters, you know, you put a lot more work into WFDSS, I think, at least from my perspective. You want to make sure that they got better direction. I mean, I'm thinking if you bring it in a type 3 team from the eastern states or something like that, I mean, there's going to be scenarios where you have folks coming in from out of the area that really need some basic direction for fighting fire in the Great Basin. And that direction can come through your WFDSS decision. I mean, probably not the best. I mean, you know, it might be raise a red flag, but that's a good way to make sure that that decision is communicated and documented. That's the best way to say it. I'll leave it at that. Any questions though? Did I hit what you guys wanted to cover? Is there anything that I breezed over that even if you want to come up and ask me during break, I'm around for the afternoon, so. Hopefully the format works. Again, I'll record this. I'm recording right now. I'll process it and try to take out the breaks and take out whatever side conversation, but I'll post it to YouTube and then it'll be available too. So. You get busy this summer. Please order soaps. That's my recommendation. You know, bring soaps in.
Not being selfish at all.
Right. I'm not saying, no, I'm just saying bring soaps in. I went up to Oregon 2 years ago where they were under us and I kind of found a niche where I could really help out locally with decisions and do the decisions and still, you know, interface with teams. And there's a lot of work that a SOPL can do locally for a busy district, just in with this and managing teams. So, you know, if you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, there's definitely avenues for support and help out there. We're still trying to work with this memo through the Great Basin Coordinating Group, the same memo we've put out the last couple of years that lists GAEs, how you can request, you know, fire modeling support. We submitted that to the coordinating group 6 weeks ago and it hasn't been issued yet. So right now the GAEs are myself, Jeremy Cisneros, Mark Williams, Tanya Opperman, and Matt Kinder. Those are the only GAEs we have in the Great Basin. We had over 12 last year. But with the new direction of people having to physically work within the boundary of the Great Basin, we lost all of our Park Service, all of our BIA, all of those people that were SMEs for those legacy agencies. So we're down to a handful of people, but I know we can get it done too. But yeah, there's a lot of things in with this, and I think that fire modeling is really kind of the next aspect of what we can do. And I know, you know, especially in the fire and flashy fuel times, that modeling can, you know, it can be hard to interpret, but I still think there's a use case for both FS Pro modeling and MTT modeling in that initial attack 24, 48 hour phase. So I can definitely help out with any of that, and I can, that's a phone call, that's a text message. We're not on the weekend, but if it is on the weekend, I'll.
Especially for us.
So yeah, I got the sign-in sheet. If anybody needs documentation, let me know and I'll scan this and email it to you, but I don't build this in IQCS or anything like that. It's just documentation or anything else. We're gonna break, come back at 1 o'clock for the afternoon session, and we'll wrap up about 2 o'clock. Thank you. Yes, online. Hunter, you still online with us? You have any questions? No, it's online too.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll see you guys at 1 o'clock. Thanks.